Lawmakers joining all 208 House Democrats to remove Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker, the first time in our nation's history, and McCarthy will not seek the speakership again.
He's talking to reporters outside the Capitol right now.
Congressman Gates, if not McCarthy, then who?
Analyzed the House of Representatives today. To whose benefit? People have told you a narcissist. People say that is to your benefit alone. Is it to the benefit of you and to Donald Trump?
It's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy.
I believe I can continue to fight, maybe in a different manner. I will not run for Speaker again. I'll have the conference pick somebody else. I think today was a political decision by the Democrats. And I think the things they have done in the past hurt the institution. And they just started removing people from committee. And they just started doing the other things. And my fear is the institution fell today. Because you can't do the job if 8 people, you have 94% or 96% of your entire conference, but 8 people can partner with the whole other side. How do you govern? And for them to make a motion on me because I made a decision for the country that they agreed with, but they choose to do the other, that becomes a problem.
On January 3rd, we said the 118th Congress is about 3 things. Pass the bills that need passed, do the oversight work that needs to be done, and stop the inevitable omnibus that comes from the United States Senate right before the holidays. Kevin McCarthy has been rock solid on all 3. We have passed the bills we told the American people we would pass. 87,000 IRS agents, that bill passed. Parents' Bill of Rights, that bill passed. Energy legislation passed. Border security, immigration enforcement legislation, the strongest bill ever to pass the Congress, passed earlier this year. We have done what we told them we were going to do.
Still, McCarthy accomplished a lot, including a serious investigation into Biden's bribery, money laundering allegations, which is ongoing, an impeachment inquiry that is now picking up steam, an investigation into Biden's weaponized FBI and DOJ, multiple major pieces of legislation, including a border security bill that I just mentioned, a bill to stop Biden's plan to hire 80,000 new IRS agents, a bill to stop big government restrictions on gas stoves and other appliances, another bill to repeal the worst parts of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But now, without a speaker, all matters involving the House come to a grinding halt.
Well, think about what we saw today. 4% decided they were so morally superior, so intellectually pure, so patriotically better, that they would side with the Democrats, and that's what they did, in order to defeat the entire Republican House caucus. 96% of the Republicans voted for McCarthy. 4% voted against him. From my position as a longtime Republican activist, they're traitors. All 8 of them should, in fact, be primaried. They should all be driven out of public life. What they did was to go to the other team to cause total chaos.
Congressman, given this breaking news, are you going to vote to oust Kevin McCarthy from his job?
Well, really, I see it as 2 things. One, do I vote against my friend Kevin McCarthy, or do I go with my conscience? That's kind of where I'm at. And I'm currently praying about it, but I would, if it was right now, I would vote to oust him, yes.
Okay, so if the vote was held right now, and of course it will have to be held in the next 2 days, do you foresee that changing, or are you a yes vote, do you believe, over the next 2 days to oust Kevin McCarthy?
I don't really think I will, other than the phone calls that I'll get right after they see this broadcast. I'm not polling people. I'm just going to do what's right for me. I think that's part of the problem with this town. We look to see what's going to pass instead of doing what our conscience tells us to do. That's why we're $33 trillion in debt.
You are a yes to oust Kevin McCarthy. Thank you for joining me.
We have soon coming up $36 trillion of debt. That is too much. Kevin McCarthy promised that we would have a vote on every single of the 12 appropriations bills. That should have started in June. It should have started in July. We would have been where we needed to at this point, that is having passed those bills, giving Kevin the opportunity to negotiate with the Senate on each of those bills. The fact that he didn't do it was just more of this crisis management. We had the same thing with the debt limit. It was last minute. The world was looking to see what we would do, and he forced a vote on that and promised President Biden much more, $200 billion more of spending than he promised Republicans when he ran for Speaker. So the message is very clear to Kevin McCarthy. You've got to stick to your promises and make sure we get these bills done.
Ken Butler was one of just 8 House Republicans to support Florida Republican Matt Gaetz' motion to vacate the Speaker.
All right, folks, welcome to Wednesday Night Live. I'm kind of hot today, so I'm kind of fired up over some of the reactions that I've been watching regarding the McCarthy ousting, which was awesome, by the way, just to let you know right up front where I stand. Awesome. But there are things about it that are absolutely disgusting, and I want to get into that. I'm also going to get into some of the video information I had put out in the last week or so, mainly attributing to both the Canada protests that have been going on. Some of the videos that I put out for that have been pretty wild in the response. I mean, bipolar to say the least. But I'll get into some of that afterwards. And then also just some of the winning that we're continuing to do with respect to winning our children and saving our children. I don't think people are putting enough focus on the wins. And I honestly am going to make the case that we've won this battle. And I will make that case in just a few. But first, before I get started, folks, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know, what you think about the current topics. I definitely love to see. I know my audience is international, and I love seeing. I know we just gained a bunch of Canada folks over the last week or so during that portion of my video releases, but also the folks from the UK, Australia, New Zealand, in my hometowns like New York and my years I spent in Jersey. So let me know where you're watching from. I definitely love to see it. And also, always remember we have the T-shirt store on the website, thepatriotthinktank.com. All right, so on to McCarthy. So if you're not aware, perhaps you don't follow things very closely, or you have a select amount of podcasts like mine to follow this stuff. McCarthy was ousted as the House Speaker. Now, we just went through this drama in getting him in there, right? And it was the Freedom Caucus led by Gaetz, right? Representative Gaetz from Florida, who seems to be the firecracker here. And they're kind of pinned, they're almost blaming him for this, as if, number one, it wasn't a win, and number two, it didn't require a vote from the entire House. So they can say what they want, but I'm listening. What pissed me off more than anything about this, because when I first heard he was gone, I was like, that's awesome. That's freaking great. And then my brother calls me yesterday. We're having a conversation. He's like, what do you think about the McCarthy situation? And I was like, it's amazing. And I was like, this man is the worst of the worst. And he's one of those people who spent his entire life wanting to be Speaker. And that's not who we want in the job. Period. Like, that is not who we want in the job. So like when I heard he was out, I'm like, that's just freaking awesome, because he started betraying his word the day after they put him in. Like, if you don't remember what we went through to get this guy in, and I'm about to go off on a lot of people today that I respect, that I actually respect their service. I respect them as representatives. I respect them, for what they've done. And there's no shortage of those people on that list after listening to people's reactions from on this situation. It just absolutely drove me insane. Bill over in Southwest Ohio, how are you, sir? Thank you, folks, for letting me know where you're watching from. I appreciate it. Utah in the house. Tracy Lee, welcome to the broadcast. Tracy Lee says, I support Gaetz. It was smart to hold McCarthy to his commitment. Exactly. And this is my point, is that they laid out for him. Right? The man lost 15 votes in a row to become Speaker, and it was clear that he was going to have to give in. He was going to have to concede on some things. And the bottom line is, when you look at what the American people demand, it's not much. What we demand is that you mean what you say, and you say what you mean. And if you want to fight if McCarthy wanted to fight those agreements and not agree to single subject bills and not agree to release the January 6 footage and not agree to stop omnibus bills and agree to make sure that appropriations bills got passed, agree to make sure that we were, like if you're going to go down this road of all these agreements, like what this showed us was that McCarthy just said, yeah, whatever, just get me in, with the attitude that once I'm in, I'll do what I damn well please. And I'm just like, and I don't care what country you're in, how many times has that happened, right? How many times as a voting populace have we seen the whole, yeah, I'll do whatever you want, just get me in. And then friggin' they get in and they do whatever the hell they want. Well, what made what Gates did brilliant, all right? Gates and it was 4 or 5 of them that actually held up the first voting to get him in the first place. And what they made him cede to, one of the things was that it only requires one representative to call for a vacate of the chair. Now, the fact that McCarthy agreed to that and then so wildly went off against what he was agreeing to tells you that he never had any respect for the fact that this could happen anyway. And I can tell you, when you listen to the pundits talk, and these are people I respect, okay? Jim Jordan, I'm going to play a clip from, and I'm going to beat him up. I'm sorry. I love Jim Jordan, but he's wrong. He's wrong, and it's disturbing for me to even listen to the fact, I'd rather have him not say a freaking word and let me still like him than say the stuff that he said and have to digest that. Newt Gingrich is another one. Calling people traitors. Calling them traitors. Right? I'm going to play the clip from him too. Newt Gingrich knows more about American history. He's forgotten more about American history than I know. And I have the utmost respect for him as a human being and as a historian, but for the love of God, Newt, really? Really? Is that where you're going? Hannity, I expect this crap from. But the rest of these guys, like they're sitting there pointing out, they want to keep repeating, only 8 members of the House caused all this to happen. 8 members, 96% were in favor, and 4% were able to stop. Yeah, that's right, 4%. Because that's how the Republic works, you jack-offs. That's how it works. And McCarthy knew it worked that way. And the reality of the matter is, he knew what could happen, and he blew it off because he blew off freshmen and younger representatives. That's why. That's what happened. Because the culture in the House of Representatives, as it is in the Senate, there are unwritten rules that these people follow, is that freshman representatives and senators, or even junior to that matter, they have this stupid seniority pecking order, like the people are okay with that. The fact of the matter is, if we take out one of your senior people and put in a freshman or someone's been there for 4 years, 6 years, and you've been there for 25 or whatever, if we put him in there, it's because that senior guy sucked. That's why. If anything, it should be the other way around. But it's not, because we haven't gotten an Article 5 convention, so we haven't had our term limits yet. But for the love of, if ever there's an argument of how inept the Congress is and how badly an Article 5 convention is needed, let this be it. Let this be it. I had to sit there for the sake of clipping things for the ticker. I had to sit through listening to these doo-doo-doos and coconuts go off about how disgusting it is, how ridiculous it is, how freaking bad it is. And not one of them went ahead and articulated the people's point of view. Not one of them. Not one of them talked about the fact that they were blowing off the single subject bill. Not one of them talked about the fact that they haven't touched appropriations. If you don't know what appropriations are, folks, this is all the House really does, okay? Let's not get it twisted. When you hear them telling you about accomplishments of McCarthy, and it's he did this bill, he did that bill, he did this bill, that's all BS. That's smoke and mirrors. All of those bills ain't getting passed, and they know it, because the Senate will never freaking sign off on it. That's all smoke and mirrors and BS. The stuff that they can really get done is the stuff that was addressed when McCarthy was put in, and it's financial, almost all of it. And it's the fact that Congress hasn't passed a budget in 27 years, and they weren't passing one under McCarthy. The appropriation, when they talk about appropriations, let me put it in a sense, I think is the easiest way to describe it. You appropriate funds to different areas as to what can be spent, right? So there were 12 areas, and I don't have that list in front of me, but there were 12 different areas that appropriations needed to be voted on that should have started back in June, and it never did. It never did because McCarthy had no effing intention of doing it at all. And they knew this. And what's disgusting and what should piss everybody off is that there are 200, not that there are 8 freaking representatives who vacated the seat. No, what should piss everyone off is that there are 200 Republican, so-called conservative representatives who are perfectly okay with the way things were going. That's what should piss everybody off. Not that there were 8 people who had a conscience and did what they were sent to Congress to do. The fact that it was only 8 is what should piss everybody off, not the fact that 8 people were able to do it. Now, I listen to these people that made me sick when I was listening to them, and there are many of them. There are many of them, and you know what? And I'm not. It's not like Gates removed him. There needed to be a vote on it, and yeah, if you're and this attitude that the Republicans are in chaos, the Democrats are never in chaos like this. You know who else was never in chaos? Stalin. Okay, Mao. Those are people that were never in chaos because the Democratic voting electorate does not think. They do. They're robots. They don't have consciences. They don't buck their party. If they have a conscience and their party says kill your conscience, they kill the conscience. So it's a good thing that we're sitting here and there's somebody speaking on our behalf. That there's somebody, it's unfortunate, it's greatly unfortunate there are only 8 of them. And I don't want to hear the rationalizations. I don't want to hear there's a lot of work we got to get done and we can't do it unless we have a speaker. That speaker wasn't getting that done. You know, Hannity listen to this list, right? Listen to this list from Hannity as to the accomplishments that this man had right before I tear them all to freaking shreds.
Still, McCarthy accomplished a lot, including a serious investigation into Biden's bribery, money laundering allegations, which is ongoing, an impeachment inquiry that is now picking up steam, an investigation into Biden's weaponized FBI and DOJ, multiple major pieces of legislation, including a border security bill that I just mentioned, a bill to stop Biden's plan to hire 80,000 new IRS agents, a bill to stop big government restrictions on gas stoves and other appliances, another bill to repeal the worst parts of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But now, without a speaker, all matters involving the House come to a grinding halt.
All right, I can't even listen to this jerk off anymore. Here's the list that he just put out there. Okay, let's just put this in perspective because if somebody's watching that and they don't follow politics, it sounded like this man has accomplished so much. This House has accomplished so much. But let's look at what they really accomplished that actually impacts, that actually is something that will happen and will change something, right? So. He's got they started an investigation into the Biden bribery. No subpoena has yet to be held for Hunter Biden. Not one. So as far as starting the investigation, this is not a hard investigation to get underway. And when you're 8 months in and you haven't even subpoenaed the main freaking suspect, how serious do you think they're taking that investigation? All right. So they're working to impeach Biden. This was Marjorie Taylor Greene's little pet project. What a useless activity this is. The only thing, what comes of it? What comes of it? Answer me that, folks. What comes of impeaching Biden? Nothing. What comes of it is that Trump does a little victory lap for a day for some revenge that got done, and then it's over. Nothing happens to Biden. And if anyone thinks Biden is even making decisions right now, you're insane. So even if the miracle happened and there were Democrats in the Senate after he's impeached in the House that would vote to remove him from office, who cares? The same people that are making the decisions today are still there. They're still there. Like everything that he lists in this list are all symbolic gestures. Not one of them makes a rat's butt of difference to this country or to this world. Not one of them. What's his next one? All right. Oh, an investigation into the weaponization of government. Yeah, how'd that go? How did that go? All right. All that investigation, I did videos on that. All right. And God bless those FBI agents for having the cojones to step up and speak publicly, knowing that they're going to be on a list for freaking the FBI and deep state. But what were the end result of those investigations? Nothing. All they did was out these whistleblowers and send them back into society under full freaking, you can guarantee that they're under full freaking surveillance for the rest of their life. That's what the House accomplished there. But they're patting themselves in the back for this crap. It's just ridiculous. Oh, here's my favorite. They passed a bill to stop the 80,000 IRS agents. Really? That's interesting because that bill's never going to pass because the Senate's never going to pass it. And the one thing you could have done, which is stop the funding for it, McCarthy let go through. So McCarthy fully funds the agents, and now they want to try and pat themselves on the back for passing a bill that is not going to let them take their positions when they know that bill will never get out of the Senate. This is the smoke and mirrors BS that requires the removal of McCarthy, and let it send a message to everybody else. I hope this slim majority is what stays in effect until the next election and after the next election. And if it doesn't, if we grow a bigger majority, then I pray to God that majority, it's not even everyone in the Freedom Caucus, because half of them could go blow smoke too. I watch all these YouTube videos of them, making all these, quotable clips and all this crap. But when it hits the fan and somebody does the right thing, they vote against it. Most of the Freedom Caucus voted against this. Let's not get this twisted. To the Marjorie Taylor Greene fans out there, her soul is long gone. I like her as a human being, but as far as a representative, she's as useless as boobs on a bowl. Useless. I'm going to call all these people. I'm done with it now. And I listen to friggin' Jim Jordan, and I'm sitting there watching him. And I have all the respect. Jim Jordan is somebody who I would like to see take the speaker's seat. But when I hear him say stuff like he's quoted as saying for this, I throw up in my mouth. I throw up in my mouth. Here's a quote from Jim Jordan that just, again, like when I heard that Jim Jordan was speaking on this, I thought, just how dare I thought that he would be on the side of the people, because he always is. But not today, or not yesterday, whenever he did this little here.
On January 3rd, we said the 118th Congress is about three things: pass the bills that need passed, do the oversight work that needs to be done, and stop the inevitable omnibus that comes from the United States Senate right before the holidays. Kevin McCarthy has been rock solid on all three. We have passed the bills we told the American people we would pass. 87,000 IRS agents, that bill passed. Parents' Bill of Rights, that bill passed. Energy legislation passed. Border security, immigration enforcement legislation, the strongest bill ever to pass the Congress, passed earlier this year. We have
the strongest bill ever to pass the Congress. What does that say about Congress, considering the fact that absolutely nothing has been done on the border? Look, for folks like Jim Jordan, just don't say anything, dude. Don't say anything, because I don't want to see you in this light ever again. You broke my heart, Jim Jordan. You broke it. All right. And I'm not throwing Jim Jordan out with the bathwater. I'm just saying that's disgusting. Like the fact that he actually believes that, because I do. Jim Jordan's a man who speaks his mind. For him to come out and say that, I don't think that some rhino sold Jim Jordan, a bag of goods and made him freaking do that. He believes what he just said. I don't know if it's from a standpoint of just wanting to believe because you're fighting so hard that you're getting something done. But Jim, I hate to tell you, you're not. You're not. When it comes to the House of Representatives, everyone should understand this, because no one's been getting civics lessons forever. They pass bills, but that's all dependent on the Senate. What they really do that really has an impact, especially in the scenario that we are in today, is they control the purse. And they have epically failed in that matter. They have allowed the debt ceiling they've just allowed unlimited spending through January. Now we're going to see what? We were going to let McCarthy stay there and then see an omnibus bill that they were never supposed to see again go through right at Christmas when it always does? Is that what we were supposed to wait for? Is that why we were going to leave McCarthy in play? And I'm dying to know what Jim Jordan would have done about that. Would he have made a YouTube video about it? Would we listen to him bark about how bad that was and then wonder what the hell happened when he stands there and he freaking backs people like this? And you know what? Trump ain't off the hook here either. Number one, he's the reason that the guy's is the speaker in the first place. It was him who went to the freaking Freedom Caucus, who all bowed to his altar. Well, not all of them, right? There are some free thinkers in the Freedom Caucus. But the rest of them are just bowing to that altar. And when Trump told them to let this guy in, they got out of the way, walked away from Gates, and let this man in. And in the end, it wasn't even a month before we realized how wrong that decision was. And the American people just sit here watching it as these doo-doo-doos and coconuts all freaking go after Gates and they demonize him and they all sing their own praises and pat themselves on the back for meaningless legislation, but yet they throw Gates under the bus. Look, Gates is no martyr. He's not a perfect human being, but he understands how to play this situation. And unlike everybody else, it's not a game. Unlike most of these lifelong pundits, it's not a game. This idea, and that core belief is where all of this crap stems from, is that they look at this as a game. They look at the historical context of like everyone's shocked right now because this never happened. They're not looking at this as to whether or not this was the right thing to do. They're looking at this like, oh, this never happened before. The Democrats won one here. Really? Did they? Did they not win one when McCarthy got put in? Because that's my attitude. That's where I'm coming from. The Democrats got their win when he took the speakership. They could play what they want on the newsreels now. Nobody watches that crap. Certainly none of you guys voters do. Speaking to the 200 doo-doos who decided that freaking McCarthy was worth protecting. And now they're going to sit there and lecture us. Now they're going to sit there and lecture us on how terrible this is, that the House has been paralyzed, and who's going to run? Will they be afraid to run? Anybody who's afraid to run right now shouldn't be running anyway. This idea that no one's going to run because, well, now you're just a slave to Gates. No, you're not. You're a slave to the American people. And the fact of the matter is you're not a slave. This type of service is voluntary. And the fact that someone wouldn't want to run because if they make promises and agreements in the beginning and they don't live up to any of it's not like McCarthy broke one little thing on a long list and kept everything. He kept none of his agreements, none of them. We're supposed to have all of the January 6th footage, all of it right now. What did we get? We got an hour-long episode on Tucker that freed one man. The one we spotlighted one person, and that person was released immediately. Why on earth are we not getting the rest of it? Because there are how many people do they have in the gulag still in that DC jail from 2020 on trespassing? How many people are still there? How many people's homes were raided by FBI SWAT teams with freaking turrets and the whole nine, battering rams, flashbangs, and who was in the house? A man and his 12-year-old child. An unarmed man and his 12-year-old child. How many people have to get treated like that before they could release these videos? And then what happened? What's the reasoning? What was the reasoning that was okay to McCarthy to not fully release all the videos? Because they didn't give them to Tucker. They allowed Tucker to come into a room or have a team go into a room and go and watch and go through the videos. But they weren't allowed. The videos are not going to be released. And here's the sickest part of it. Here's the sickest, most twisted part of it that McCarthy was okay with. Another reason this man should just be gone. The reason for it was they didn't want to out operatives. No red flags got raised there. Operatives? What operatives? Why were there operatives? Why are there operatives in the crowd of January 6th that you're afraid are going to get outed? Thank you for the honesty, but now it's 10 times creepier than it was before. Score another one for the conspiracy theorists. It's just the laundry list of reasons to get rid of McCarthy are just too many to name. And I have to sit here and watch these doo-doo-doos just friggin' talk smack. New people like Newt Gingrich calling, am I a traitor, Newt? Am I a traitor? Because if I'm a traitor, then you're a dirtbag. It's not forgivable. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at this like I like Newt. So now I got to sit here and reevaluate this dude. Because he just called me a traitor. Because if I was in that Congress, and I can tell you, there are a lot of Americans. I'm not sitting here claiming to speak for the world, but there are a lot of people who agree with me, and are now in conflict because now they looked up to people, the few people in Congress who actually you thought were fighting for you, and you're listening to them say stuff like this, and you're just sitting there baffled. And this is it, folks. This is it. This is the reason, okay? We've got, even if you believe all the John Birch Society and Soros and other people's crap about an Article 5 convention, if you don't get it by now that it's worth anything. There's literally zero that's good. There's no one you're going to put in that house, that we're going to put in that house or that Senate or that presidency that's going to be able to change the things that need to be changed. There's no hope. No hope. And it's not even because, like, this problem, all right, this problem of government power that we deal with now, this reality of an oversized government that the founders of this great American experiment feared so greatly, those powers didn't come from Congress overreaching. They didn't come from, well, some of it came from a president in the form of Woodrow Wilson, who signed the Fed into existence. But almost none of it, aside from that, which is a big one, but that also required court approval. The fact of the matter is the courts are the ones who put us in this freaking quandary. They're the ones who created the freaking book that is not our Constitution, right? They created this book. It's not our Constitution, but they think it is. They think it is. And if you've never seen this book before, I show it all the time, okay? You see the little pocket Constitution sitting there. Well, that much bigger one, well, that's when the court has to decide a constitutional issue, it's that bigger one that they go to. When the lawyers for Congress go and determine what the language of bills should be, and they don't pick up that pocket Constitution, they pick up that behemoth right there, because it includes every single Supreme Court decision that's ever been made. And it's those decisions, okay, that have slowly, death by 1,000 cuts, have empowered the government to turn them into an animal full of people like McCarthy who could really care less what the people think. When's the last time, I heard Representative Gates talking about, they were asking him questions, and more than once he mentioned the people in his district. Now just stop and think about it for a second. When's the last time you heard any of these people talk about the people in their district? When they're not talking to the people in their district directly, like when they're just talking on the floor of Congress or doing an interview. At what point they don't even care about the people. The people in their districts are useful idiots. That's the way they're seen. These are people who they matter every 2 years or every 6 years, depending on which house you're in, what chamber you're in. But that's it. That's the only time they matter. Once the election's over and they're back in, oh, we're on the global stage. We're on a national stage. But Gates still talks about his district. The fact of the matter is, we should all know who's in our district. We should all know, because that's how it's designed to work, folks. This beautiful freaking engine that the founders created All right, this document that they spent time behind closed doors, an incredibly educated group of men trying to think of every single situation that could come about to undo this country, and really they hit them all. They really hit them all. Even though, like, some of the things we gave back, like the 17th Amendment. Like, how did the states ever ratify this? I don't know what went on in 1913 in this country that got income tax imposed, the 17th Amendment put in, so 16 and 17, and at the same year, right before Christmas, literally the day before Christmas, they signed the Fed into existence. And now we have a central bank. All of that happened in 1 year. There's only one way to undo these things, folks. One. And as much as I like Trump, he ain't the ticket. Not because he doesn't want to, but half of it is because he doesn't understand the problems to this level. And the other half of it is he doesn't have the power to do anything anyway, because presidents don't have that authority. There's only one way to undo a century of horrifically bad court decisions, one after the other, allowing wide open on the tax code. They even laugh when they have something to make a decision on regarding taxes, because their attitude is, no, we've always given free leeway to the government, and then therefore they'll always look to each other's precedent and always give the government free leeway to tax the living bejesus out of anything that they damn well see fit, use it as a weapon like they did with the freaking healthcare bill. Whatever they want, they can do. Those kinds of things, okay? Those kinds of things can only be undone one way, and that's Article 5. That's just real talk. But we're going to sit here and keep fighting about people like McCarthy and the rest of these coconuts. If this doesn't prove to you, just understand there are 200 people in the House of Representatives, okay? Out of 212, I believe, that are total on the Republican side of the House right now, 200 of them like McCarthy. 200 of them think that what he's done, okay? Because if you're taking his back, you're taking his back. And that means 200 of them. Only eight had a problem with this guy. If that doesn't break your heart, if that doesn't make you understand that the only way we get this done is on our own, nothing ever will. Ever. All right. That was a pretty heavy rant, but honestly, I was fired up. I'm going to try and backtrack on some of the comments. I saw him flying in here, and I'm just losing my mind over here over this nonsense. All right. So Red Horn over on Facebook, the guy was a Democrat's botch. They got was a Democrat's botch? I don't know. I'm not sure. I thought he said got, but you can clarify that for me. I'll put it in for you. Oh, I hit my own. Send stars, show your support, folks. They got 2 stars. They're worth like a penny each. All right. I support Gates. It was smart to hold McCarthy to his commitment. We already played Tracy's from Utah. Quebec, we got in the house. Canadians are really kicking some butt right now. We got Wild Stallion over on YouTube. Said, I made it live today. Ain't it funny how there are always examples of why 17A needs repeal? Absolutely. As I was just saying, folks, and I didn't read this comment first, like the 17th Amendment is just a bastardization. If you don't know what it is, the Senate was designed by the Founding Fathers to be appointed by state legislatures, not to be elected by the people. And the reason for that was that people were supposed to be dealing with their state legislator. Like that's the way this constitutional republic was designed to work, is that if I have a grievance, I go to my local legislator. Why? Because they're the closest to me. And the state legislatures were designed to have the most power, period. Not the president. And they still have that power, but they gave up a ton of it when they ratified the 17th Amendment. I don't know what the culture was like in 1913. I don't know what the hell was going on, but it was one of the most damaging years to our Constitution that ever existed. I can't think of a year that was more brutal than that year. I mean, even Prohibition was just one bad amendment. Like this was 2, and the enactment of the Fed. I mean, the culture in the country that year, but they've been waiting forever for this. But it's high time we repeal both of them, both the income tax on the 16th and the 17th. Both of them have forever been unconstitutional until the progressives were able to frickin' get that year where the mix was right and they had Wilson in there intimidating everybody and they pulled it off. But you're right, Wild Stallion. It is funny. It comes up all the time. All right, Matt Gaetz is the man, next governor of Florida. I hope. Yep, that would be it would be good for him to get an executive position for sure. If he plans to, if he plans to start, taking the bull by the horns on the scene. We do need men like him. Good men usually don't run for politics. And I can tell you, Gaetz is that guy who doesn't give a crap if he gets reelected. He will, though. In his district in Florida, he will get reelected. But the fact of the matter is, that's not what's driving his decision-making process. He ran on a platform, and by God, he's going to go after it. And he was handed a great situation with this minority friggin' majority thing where they only have it by a little bit because those 8 people matter. See, the House Republicans are so angry right now, and the Newt Gingriches and the rest of the Rhino elite, because in the end, this doesn't really happen. They're supposed to be able to squash these little outliers, these fringe people, right? Because that's what they think of you. Okay, just so you know, like if you believe, that the House should pass budgets, they think you're on the fringe. Okay. They won't say that live on television, but that's what they think. All right. If you think that there should be accountability, if you think there should be single subject bills, if you think and that's something I would like to see put into an amendment via convention is the single subject bill. Put this stuff in the Constitution already. And stop letting these idiots who are clearly can't even tie their own shoes, stop letting them try to decide this stuff. Has spent half their time grandstanding in front of cameras and none of their time giving a damn what happens in their districts. But Gaetz the hero from Bill S. on YouTube says, Gaetz the hero, I'm having cognitive dissonance listening to people I respect like Mark Levin and Newt Trash Gaetz and lionize McCarthy. So sad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can add Levin, into that too. And it's just these are people I respect, but I'm done. I'm this is what when I go off on rants about Trump it's like people think I'm not going to vote for him or something. No, I'm going to vote for him, but he's not immune. He doesn't get to just say Zelensky is an honorable man and I don't see it and go, what the hell? I'm not in that mindset. And the same goes for Jim Jordan, Mark Levin, freaking list it. And Trump came out in favor of McCarthy again now. But I understand that with Trump, it's just narcissism. He went and he knows he's responsible for the guy getting into the speaker in the first place. So it's just like COVID. It's all right. Yeah, well, you ask him about warp speed. He's like, well, it's the greatest thing ever. It saved millions of lives. You're just sitting there what? But that's what he is. That's who he is. Once you hear him say something, it doesn't matter how dumb it is. He's going to double down on it next time it comes up, and it is what it is. But Jim Jordan, what the hell was that all about? I'm just over these people. I'm just over them, folks. That's just where I'm at. I don't know how else to articulate it. I'm just over these effing people. So the only junior that got to skip the pecking order was Obama. Gee, I wonder why. Yeah, exactly. Because Obama was on the, he's the skull and bones dude, right? Like the Bushes. He just gets, they had him planned for a long time. Redhorn, how are you? Thank you for joining. Appears to be in agreement with what we're saying here, which is awesome. Denise over on Facebook sitting in from Espanola, Ontario. So more Canadians on board. Awesome. We're going to get into the whole protest thing. I took a lot of crap this week from some Canadians. Most of it was love. So, but there's some bipolar stuff going on over the protests that's currently underway down there. But I do hope and pray that it all gets cleared up and it becomes huge. And God bless you guys. Michael Boyle over on Facebook. It's been coming. We have to be involved. Yep, that's exactly right. We have to be involved. And the thing is, guys, it's got to be local. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's got to be local. And then when it does come time, for the 2-year election for these guys, we need to make sure that a lot of those 200 people get punished. Period. I mean, Newt's talking about, these 8 people should be primary. They're traitors. Like, F you, Newt. Like screw you. Traitors my ass. And it's on us now, right, to show that he's wrong. It's on us right now to show these clowns that if you stand with those 200 people, like, this ain't a numbers game as far as, there's 200 people, well, then we must think that way. No, this is America. We don't roll like that. In the end, Gates is on the side of righteousness, and no one cares about all the, it's going to slow down the House. No one cares about any of that. There's right and there's wrong. And if you're in that 200 club, you're wrong. You're wrong. Chip Roy, the rest of these people, you're wrong. You're just wrong, and you better get it right. You better get it right. Because I don't care. I don't care about your speeches and your little rants in these little committees. They sit there, they get these YouTube high. I don't care about any of that. Nothing gets done out of any of that. You had one shot. All right, you run the purse. That's it. And what did you do? You freaking let the debt ceiling continue, and you added up. So now the deficit is going to reach. We're going to hit a debt now by projection of $36 trillion, and 200 people in the House of Representatives are okay with that. 200 of them, 200 Republicans. Really, that's incorrect. Okay, I'm sorry, it's incorrect. There's like 412. Because all the Democrats are perfectly okay with it. There are literally 8 people in the entire House of Representatives who are not okay with a $36 trillion debt. 8. And that 8 does not include Jim Jordan. It does not include Chip, what's his name? Chip Roy or something. It doesn't include the Freedom Caucus, because there are more than 8 people in the Freedom Caucus. There are literally 8 people in the entire House of Representatives that are not okay with a $36 trillion debt. And not one of them, God forbid, would have the cojones to step up and look to solutions for things like Social Security and Medicare and things of that nature. God forbid. I mean, we can't even get them to say it's not okay for a $36 trillion debt. How on earth are we going to get them to correct Social Security and start looking to other countries like maybe Switzerland, who privatized their Social Security a long freaking time ago, while Bernie calls them a socialist country? Like, everyone knows what has to happen, but everyone's afraid to do it because they're going to start running the push grandma off a cliff freaking ads. Oh, that's going to kill my campaign. But you look at a guy like Gates, like, he could care less. He could care less, dude. And there are people like him out there. Rand Paul is that way, right? I don't always agree with Rand Paul, but in the end, I never question whether Rand Paul believes what he's saying. I never question that. They're out there. There's just so few of them. And because there are so many districts. There are so many districts that are just simply oblivious to who their local people are. They're oblivious to who's getting elected. They're there's horrible turnout for these local elections. So these guys just bus in, as many homeless people as they can find, all walking in with their free peanut butter and jelly sandwich and bottle of whiskey, and friggin' that's it. And they get in. Because we don't pay attention to local politics. And that needs to change. And it has been changing with respect to our school boards, which has been awesome. So I'm very stoked to see that change. But, I'll get into that in a few moments with what went down in California. I'll talk a little bit about a video I'm going to put out regarding Temecula. Temecula it has been an on-fire school district for children. They've been doing a great job in trying to fight back. And these are the wins, right? These are examples of what happens when a community locally gets involved, runs for school board, takes it over, and then flips the bird to the state, because that's how it needs to get done. Red Horde over on Facebook, they all need to be removed. Absolutely. We can keep Gates in there. You can keep Gates, and there's 8 of them. Let me see if I still have the list. I didn't make a graphic of it. I apologize, but for your reference, so you have something to freeze frame, I'll put it up here. Who were That's funny. It just comes up on Google. Who are the 8 Republicans? Like, this is one of the most Googled freaking things out there right now. And I'm going to go ahead and share screens real quick so I can show that to you. Just get it on the screen for you so that you can see who the 8 patriots are, because I keep throwing it out there. There were 8 people, but like, I have not said who those people are. So let's do that. All right. There they are. So, and let me make that bigger. So there they are. Andy Biggs of Arizona, Ken Buck of Colorado, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Ellie Crane of Arizona, Matt Gaetz of Florida, Bob Good of Virginia, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, and Matt Rosendale of Montana. So there are your people. All right. Those are the only people right here in front of you who are not okay with a $36 trillion debt. Not a deficit, a debt. We actually owe that money. These are the only 8 people. I can't wrap my head around that. The only 8 people in the entire House of Representatives who are not okay with a $36 trillion debt. This is what we're up against, folks. This is what we're up against. And then they talk about this like they act like there's still 2 teams here. There are 2 teams. The teams are the American people and Marxists. And the same goes in other countries. There are the Canadian people and there are Marxists. Okay? There's no left and right. Marxist is way beyond left. All right? And it's the same thing all over the country. It's the same thing all over the country. I mean, all over the globe. I'm sorry. All over the globe. It is not different anywhere. They're trying to implement 15-minute cities in Oxford. Like, that's Marxist. That's not progressive. That's Marxist. Okay? That's exactly what that is. All right, let me take that down. So Michael Boyle, the border is just another part of their plan. Yeah, absolutely. I did that piece a while back with Lara Logan, who I respect tremendously as one of the handful of real investigative journalists that actually still exist today. Of course, she can no longer exist on a major network, but like, she made that point. Like, she said straight out, like, she's like, I have contacts who are in high-level UN meetings, right? You can go back into my videos drops. You'll see it in there. You'll see her face right on the cover. She's like, I have contacts in high-level freaking UN meetings talking about the plan to just flood the United States with foreign entities, with illegal immigrants, so that they can then just muddy the waters so greatly that it'll just allow it to, you somehow find a way at some point to inaugurate these people and give them amnesty. And then the hope is they'll vote to completely circumvent the Constitution. It's crazy. It's crazy the level of planning done here. Hi, Ton. How are you, sir? Thank you for joining. Well, they don't call the borders crossing trespassing, but they call American citizens are. Yeah, exactly. They're trespassing when police invite them into the Capitol, but they're not trespassing when they're breaking into the country. Literally, it's just ridiculous. Warren Owen, how are you, sir? How are you, sir? I'm glad I got you on live for the best TV ever. I agree with meeting and making. I agree with. Is that Marjorie Taylor Greene? Yeah. All right. And make Donald Trump speaker. Yeah. Like, honestly, that's just like trolling to me. Like, let the man just run for president and what's he going to do as speaker? Like, I just, if Trump's going to take a position other than presidency, it should be the head of Department of Homeland Security. As a matter of fact, I've said this before. I would almost rather see him in that position than as president, because it's far less political and there's far more that he can get done. He could just start waxing people. Like he could just gut he's now the deep state's boss. Like I just want to see that second level, that second level deep state dude. Like as each president comes in and they bring their CIA guy, to be director of the CIA and director of NSA, and they bring them in, and then there's that second guy who's really the guy that's in charge, who then approaches the director and basically shows him all the ropes and how things are done and what he needs to do. Right. So I would love to see that guy show up to Donald Trump's office and start explaining to Donald Trump exactly, how things run around here. Oh my God. The precious gem that would be. I'll be honest, I'll take DeSantis in that role too. I'll take DeSantis. Like, you figure Trump's going to win the presidency. So if Trump gets in office, like, I know DeSantis won't take VP. He's an alpha male. He ain't taking VP. But he might take the head of the Department of Homeland Security. Like, when it's positioned to him and posed to him, he may very well take that seriously. Now, Trump is notorious for surrounding himself with awful people. So I don't know that he would do that, but we'll see. We'll see. Right. And hopefully, something comes of it. So can't trust anyone that spends millions to get a job that pays a couple $100,000. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing, Warren, is that when it comes down to it, like, McCarthy is that dude who has spent his entire life, like the Clintons, like Nancy Pelosi, like Feinstein, there are more on the Republican side. They're escaping me. McConnell, like these people, they've spent their whole lives looking for these positions. Like, these are the last people in the world that you want in these positions. That's just real talk. That's when you have someone who is gearing themselves up their whole life for a power position, they do not deserve the power. Best leaders you will ever find are the ones who don't want the job, but are thrown into it anyway. And they're good people who don't want to do it, but they'll do it because they know they're needed. Those are the people you want. That's how it gets done. Getting a little parched over here. All right. So let's see, man. There's quite a few comments to go through here. So I'll do a few more, and then I'm going to move on. I want to talk about Canada a little bit. I don't have any clips or highlights, but I do want to kind of just throw out there some stuff because I put some videos out. One was not, everybody just loved, was just showing. So I went out and found on BitChute and brand new tube and all these different, trying to get as many cities as I could to show the scope of the Million March for Kids, which I thought was brilliant. If you don't know that it happened in Canada, tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of people, and it's probably hundreds of thousands when you look at the full breadth of it, had parents had come out to protest school grooming. Same stuff we're doing here in the States, just different approach. But man, did they come out. And what it did was it highlighted something that I say on this show all the time, is that these Marxists, they don't exist in great numbers. They just don't. And it's important that everybody understand that. Like, they had to take all of their resources basically and put it in Ottawa. And that's what they did. They took all their resources, they put it in Ottawa, because if they just left their resources spread out, it would look like nobody compared to the friggin' crowds that were showing up. So they decided to make Ottawa their stand, and it was still, they were outnumbered greatly, but at least there they could get the photo ops from the media that they needed. But the rest of the friggin' country, dude, nothing. Crickets. There was one at St. Catharines where there were like maybe 1,000 people, 1,500 people at this particular one, and there might have been like 6 people saying, chanting something for transgender. But it was like literally nobody. Like, nobody. There was another one where the lady's making excuses saying, well, it's a Wednesday. This was in Toronto, I believe. So it's a Wednesday, and it's late or it was early, and it's hard to get people out. But there are so many people, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people are reaching out to me. And I'm like, bullshit. Number one, and she's like, and it was last second. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. They were doing conference calls, which I showed, like they were doing conference calls, the unions and communist organizations, one of them named Community Solidarity. I don't need to say any more than that. So the commies all got together on their Zoom calls to try and gather as many people as they could weeks in advance of this protest. And that's the best they could muster. So like, it was awesome to see. And then, the follow-up was a gathering. Dare I use the word convoy? So there was some confusion about whether or not a new convoy was beginning, and it really played out, at least up until the moment, almost like a soap opera. Like it's like everyone was friends on last Wednesday, but then there started to become some infighting, and no one knew exactly where they were going. And people were using the term convoy when they were reaching out to me directly. I apparently mistakenly used the term convoy, and it was a touchy subject for some people. Like most people were just like, yeah, whatever. It's a lot of people, convoy, not convoy. They didn't care. But some people were like, dude, don't call us a convoy. And it was like, whoa, okay. So, so I've been watching, I've been following the different players now. So like I've identified the different players, and it looks like there's some infighting going on. So I just hope they all get it together and get it straight. There's definitely some action going on in Canada right now. I haven't gotten a chance to look at it today because I jumped right onto the podcast after work, but I'm going to go ahead and check out those guys' pages and see, see what there is, what's going on, what the update is. But they're expecting, and hopefully they will get, an overwhelming number of people. And they just announced the location maybe a couple of days ago, 2 days ago. So that'll be fun to watch happen. But yeah, but Canada is definitely up in arms, and our brothers over across the border are fighting the same fight, guys. And this is what I get people saying to me like, well, you should study up on Canadian law and this or Canadian governmental system. And I'm like, dude, what you're dealing with right now has nothing to do with your governmental system. It has no more to do with that than what we're dealing with here in the States has to do with ours. This is the same organization that's doing both. It's the same. This transgender garbage is a nationwide thing. It's not a in your state or this is nationwide. The strategies, the way that they're operating, the way that they're co-opting protests, like this is going on all over the world. These are tactics most often used by the CCP, who, in my opinion, as many of you know, are basically controlling the UN, who in turn controls the WEF and Klaus Schwab and his dootadoos, his merry band of dootadoos, who from corporations, BlackRock, Larry Fink, the rest of them. So like these are tactics that are well known, this co-opting movements. But I do pray and hope that the people of Canada get this. Like I hope this grows. I hope this grows into something significant. Now, there is one thing that I want to play, and what it is from a California school district, and I don't know how. Here we go. Okay, so I'm uploading it right now, but it's a California school district here, and it's actually not that far from me. And I had heard the story about this a while ago, and I couldn't find footage on it. But then I found footage. So I did a video on it, and I have an 8-minute video out there that's shareable of this as well. It's the very previous video that I've released. But I want to paint the picture for you as to what this video is showing. It's in the city of Chino, California, a city where parents were at an uproar, like many around the country, regarding, post 2020, finding out all the garbage that's going on in our schools and the grooming of our children. Obviously, my Canadian folks know very well about that. And, and they went in. And, parents stepped up, they ran for the school board and unseated the majority of their school board. Now, for those of you who have heard of different locations and different places doing this, that's awesome because there have been places all around the country that have done this. But this particular gem takes the cake. Now, at this meeting, they were about to make a vote on whether to overrule the state's mandate that parents not be notified about the grooming that's going on. And that's exactly what it is, right? Because let's face it, the kid goes into school not thinking anything about any of this sexualizing garbage. It is completely introduced to them, promoted, and embedded into them by the school. And then once the kid is aptly confused and really doesn't understand what the hell's going on, well, and starts making really bad decisions, the school wants to keep that, hush hush. So anybody who's in that position should not be working in a school anyway, but the board was going to overturn this, right? So the state sends down. Now they tried to paint a picture like the children called him, but it was the state superintendent they sent down to speak at this school board meeting. And let's just say that the newly elected school board was not having it. So listen, she gives this guy his minute and then just cuts his mic. And it's so refreshing because even though this guy's a state official and he's out of Sacramento and all that, like, they don't take any crap from anybody, as she actually stops at the end and starts bashing him and breaking down for him the reality that he is the problem. Listen to this.
The first speaker is Tony Thurmond.
Please be respectful on both sides. Both sides. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, parents, teachers, and students. I stand before you as a proud American, as a man of faith, the son of a veteran who served in Vietnam, who's buried not far from here. I love this country. And in addition to being the state superintendent, I am also a parent. And I come before you as a parent tonight. And we can debate all of the laws and all of the policies and practices. I ask you to consider this, that nearly half of students who identify as being LGBTQ+ are considering suicide. I ask you to consider this, that the policy that you consider tonight not only may fall outside of the laws that respect privacy and safety for our students, but may put our students at risk because they may not be in homes where they can be safe.
Time. And I learned something from a previous board president. Guys, be respectful. I am going to do a point of order, which I learned from a previous board president. Tony Thurmond, I appreciate you being here tremendously. But here's the problem. We're here because of people like you. You're in Sacramento proposing things that pervert children. You had a chance to come and talk to me, Tony. By all means, you had a chance to come talk to me. Why was it so important for you to walk with my opponent? You are the very reason why we're in this.
May I have, as a point of order, as the board
Point of
president...
order, this is not your meeting. You may have a seat, because if I did that to you in Sacramento, you would not accept it. Please sit.
May I get a point of order?
You're not going to blackmail us. You already sent us a blackmailing letter on previous things. You'll not bully us here in Chino. Please see.
Point of order.
In Chino. We're going to take a 5-minute break.
He's giving a point of order. Give me a second.
Just absolutely boss. So I'm sorry I made you sit through his soliloquy of, his or solo dialogue, probably is more accurate, of nonsense, trying to talk about him being a person of faith. Like really? Like, I was waiting for the lightning to just come down and take him out right there. But he goes on, to give his BS story. Hey, 1 minute lapsed and whoop, shut his mic off. How many times have you seen them do that to parents? And that's why you kept hearing her say, I learned something from the last from the last president. I learned something from my opponent, who is no longer in this seat, and just cut him off. And he, being the state superintendent, he's thinking, well, I can come back up to the mic and call a point of order. She was like, no. She was like, you can go sit down. She was like, you can go sit down, because if I were in Sacramento, you would not give me that time. And she's absolutely right, because that's what they do to us all the time. When they have their own groomers sitting in those seats, they give you the straight minute, or whatever time is allotted to everyone else. They cut you off and send you to your seat like a little kid. It was just awesome and refreshing to watch her do that. And then I'm going to do a video on Temecula as well. Temecula and another city, and I'm forgetting, the other one is escaping me right now, in Northern California. They just outright banned all flags from the school property, with the exception of the American flag and the state of California flag, which was just an absolutely brilliant move on every front. And it's not, and of course, it's being attacked as being targeted to the LGBT flag, which there's probably some truth to that. But in the end, there really shouldn't be another flag on campus. Like, this is not an arena for this type of stuff. Like, it's, say your Pledge of Allegiance, like, honor your country, and that's it. Take the rest of your baggage for these teachers. Take that home with you. The days of indoctrination are over, folks. And when I said earlier in the broadcast that when I cover this, I would try and make the case that it's already done. Like, they've already lost this fight, and that what you're seeing now are just the remnants and the pushback. Because even if structurally, and even if we don't, if some schools still exist where the school board hasn't been taken over, and there are still, the Marxists in these school boards, at this point, it doesn't even matter anymore, because whoever's been programmed up to this point, those will be the last. Because parents are preparing their children before they get into the school now. Like, parents that can't homeschool, and parents that can't, and they can't afford, right? They need to send their kids, right, for the basics, right? They gotta, get them to teach them how to read. They gotta, some parents are in situations where they need the tax dollars being spent on schools to work for them. They don't have a choice. But those parents are going to teach these stories and these lessons to the kids before they get in. So when these teachers start going on with their commie crap and their posters, welcome to the party with Stalin and Marx and all, like, when they start doing all that crap, like, the kids are going to be prepared now going in. The days of them going in and parents unknowingly saying, listen to your teacher, like, those days are over. Those days are done. Now teachers have to prove. That they're not a psycho. Like, they better engage parents. They better talk to parents, because if they don't, their kids are going to come in their classroom not trusting them in any way, shape, or form. And that's real talk. And now it's just a matter of time. Now it's a matter of letting these new generations grow, and parents just teaching these new generations what they're trying to do and why it's bad and why Marxism has been practiced, even though these psychos are rewriting history and acting like it hasn't. Like, why, how many people, how many tens of millions died under communism? These are real facts, and the kids need to understand this going in. And it's my attitude, and what I'm seeing, they will. And so regardless of what kind of books they try and ram down people's throats, like, parents will just be telling kids, you're not, I don't want to hear that you were in that library. I don't want to hear that you were in that library. Period. If your teacher gives you a problem with that, you have them call me. They won't call because they're afraid. Because they don't want to have those conversations, which is why they don't want parents to know, right? We all know. And there's no scenario that's okay. If there's something that a teacher feels they can't tell a parent, that teacher should be removed. Period. That's all it comes down to. That's all it comes down to. So big win in Chino. I'll talk a little bit more in a separate video, so it's shareable. It's not like mixed in an hour into a live broadcast about the Temecula situation and the other school that did the same thing. But this is in California, folks, right? So for those of you who are thinking, oh, California is so lost, It is, but it isn't. Like on the inland, California is like a microcosm of the United States. When you look at the Republican Democrat map in the United States and you see all that red, right? And then there's that little bit of blue on the edges on the coast. But like so many people live in those edges, right? But it's like, but when you look at the whole scope of it, the whole country looks red. Well, California is kind of the same thing. If you were to divide it up, like everything inland, like these people are conservative as it gets. They're running out of ways to redistrict it. I mean, every single election cycle they redistrict again to try and keep up with keeping it Democrat, but they're losing a grip on that. They're losing a grip on that, and there are tons and tons of conservatives in California. So I thought that was worth saying. Hi, Tons. So he says, so Biden will keep sitting in the White House. It doesn't matter if Biden's sitting in the White House. I mentioned this earlier. Biden doesn't make any decisions. So impeaching him makes no sense. It's just a waste of effort. There are things that we could be doing that could have actual impact. When it comes from the House, forget legislation right now because the Senate's not going to, I don't care what bill you pass to the House. There's no one in the Senate's going to take that bill. So why do I care? Like, you could tell me that you're for this and I'll believe you. You don't need to waste weeks on end drawing up legislation that everybody involved knows is not going to pass. The fact that more than one person threw, and Jim Jordan threw this in too, as if it was an accomplishment that they passed a bill to stop the 80,000 IRS agents. They both know that bill's never going to pass. And they also know that McCarthy cut a deal to fund those agents. Like they gave Biden the only thing he needed and the only thing they could have done to prevent it. They gave it to him and then started patting themselves on the back. These disgusting human beings start patting themselves on the back as if they did something to stop these agents. No, you didn't. And yes, you did have a chance. You don't get to deflect and say, well, that's not on us. That's on the Senate. No, it's on you. You could have cut them out of the funding package and they would have not existed, period. And you didn't need the Senate for that. And you didn't do it. You didn't do it because your speaker sucks. And screw you, Jim, for coming out there and trying to lie to me and act like that was meaningful. Because that's what that was. You didn't lie to me that you passed the bill. You lied to me in the insinuation that that bill meant anything, that that bill was any kind of win, and that the man that you're supporting right now completely undermined that bill. Like I'm tired of them all lying to us. That's what it is. I'm just tired. I'm tired of people that I otherwise respect just lying to me. It's just not, it's not okay. It's not okay. System's corrupt. Everyone is money. Yeah, that's not new. I would say not everyone is money, though. I can make an argument for Gates right now. I can make an argument for Gates, Buck, everybody on that list, right? Burchett, Crane in Arizona, Bob Good, Virginia. Right now, I'm reading them off. Nancy Mace. Those people ain't in it for the money because you don't do it for the money. You don't vote like that for the money. You vote like Jim Jordan voted for the money. Not that he's all about the money, but that's how you. But he did vote in a way that would be in line with those who are voting for the money. So I'm not accusing him of that, but that's just it is what it is. He was the Dems biatch. Gates did a great job. We back him 100%. Let's hope we get a better speaker. Yeah, and you know what? I think that we will. I think in the end, look, who's going to take the job that's a rhino at this point? Like, who's going to take that job? Like, I don't see a rhino stepping up. Rhinos are like, oh, hell no. You mean I can't keep running up the deficit and I can't keep running up the debt? You mean I can't keep, I can't try and squeeze through omnibus bills and I have to vote on appropriations. I have to actually set a budget. No. I don't want no part of that. No, there are 200 people pretty much that are automatically eliminated from that category. So let's look at that 8 and see if there's someone there. I mean, Gates is saying he still has, some of these guys are saying they still have respect for some of those 200. And I guess I kind of sort of twistedly do too. Like people like Jim Jordan, who I just, if I were in front of him, I'd lose my freaking mind. If I were in front of him right now, like I need days, maybe weeks to calm down from this garbage. It's just nonsense. Donna DeRocher over on Facebook just had the same argument. These 8 people are speaking up for the ones in their districts, right? And that's it. That's the only people that they're there to speak up for it. They're not there. The other 200 people in the House, and that was a very good way to articulate it, Donna, because that's how I was positioning it offline. It's like these people are responsible for the people in their district. That's it. They're not responsible for the entire United States. They were put there. So when the Republican Party puts itself in the fragile position of being in a situation where they lose, or they don't win, and however you want to look at it, enough seats to allow these voices to speak out, they are not to be swayed by numbers or any of that. They're there to vote their conscience, and they're there to represent their constituents. That's it. That's it. And it looks like their constituents are the only ones being represented. Because I guarantee you, of the 200 freaking people on the other list, I guarantee you there are constituents that they have that voted in favor. And I can guarantee you my House rep did as well. All right, so it says our tax money pays for your wages and voted for you to protect the people in the country. Canada already on the way to socialism under Trudeau. USA on the way to the same path because our governments aren't in it. Any of us, but their own agenda and lining the pockets with our hard-earned tax money. I'm disappointed as you are from the statements from people I thought were true patriots too. Yeah, I mean, this is some soul-searching time for us, right? That last comment was also very powerful. It's disappointing hearing this stuff. And I said in the beginning of the broadcast, like my brother called me up and was like, dude, how do you feel about like just almost calling me to just like check and be like, am I crazy? Like, because my instinct was like, hell yeah, this is a great thing. And then you turn on the TV and everyone from freaking Jim Jordan to Gingrich to whoever, you got Gingrich calling everybody traitors and Jordan like acting like they, like this was the freaking big deal. And it's like, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? He like called me just be like, I'm not crazy, right? McCarthy was a good thing. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. But I didn't watch all these pundits. So like I didn't know what they were all saying. But just like with the first thing with McCarthy, like I was on the air. It's funny. I was on the air, like bashing, right? Like supporting Gates and the Freedom Caucus for holding McCarthy accountable and whatnot. And at the very same time, Hannity was on the friggin' air, if you remember this one, basically bashing Gates and the Freedom Caucus and crapping on everybody. And he had that interview where he tore into them. And I did a video on that and friggin' just went to work on Hannity. And I could tell you the video got thousands and thousands of views, but it literally got almost 1,000 comments. And every single comment was against Hannity. To the point where I know I'm not alone. Like I know every video that was put out on this, Hannity got bashed. And I did that. I went and looked for other videos about this topic. People were just killing Hannity to the point where the next day he had to have them back on and start playing nice and basically apologizing. And it was just disgusting. And I didn't respect Hannity before that. But after that was just like, whatever. We got Montana in the house. Yeah, you know what? I'm watching Yellowstone right now, and I got to tell you, even though they keep talking about how hard and brutal it is to run a ranch, it's hard not to want a ranch when you're watching Yellowstone. We just bought some property in West Virginia, and I'm like, maybe we should have bought a ranch. But I'm going to go with it's as hard as they say it is, and knowing that I am not getting younger, will probably not be in shape to go ahead and do that. So we'll see. Biggest news out of Canada today is India showing Trudeau's boyfriend, exposing him all over the news. Oh, okay. Honestly, Trudeau is like, I can't beat him up too much because we're sitting here with Biden and like no matter how ridiculous and stupid Trudeau is, like Biden can't even speak. Like the dude's like randomly walking away from the podium looking for an ice cream cone. So it looks like we're both in some pretty bad shape uh, from a leadership perspective. But that's funny. That's funny. Trudeau, that dude, I can't. I don't even know where to go with it. Christy Malone over on Facebook. I'm tired of all these folks taking our hard-earned money and spending it on crap, on the crap, saying we need more and more and more. They're draining us. Yeah, they're draining us. And understand, Christy, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I'll give you a little rabbit hole to go down. When you look at how the Fed controls inflation, okay, and the belief system, I'll give you two words. The Fed, well, not two words, but two things. The Fed controlling inflation, modern monetary theory. I've actually done some videos on this as well. They might be easier to find on my YouTube or Rumble channels, but you may be able to find it on the Facebook one as well. I don't know how easy it is to search through them all, but I've done some pieces on modern monetary theory. The government doesn't look at your tax money as something they need. And it's pretty twisted, but the government looks at your tax money as a means to control inflation. That's all it is. Because modern monetary theory basically says, and they do live by this, they all believe in this, okay? Going back, and not just Democrats, like Cheney spoke about this too, that deficits don't matter and that debt doesn't matter. The only way it matters is if, like, we can print as much money as we want, basically, is what it tells you. But the only thing is, the only thing stopping you from printing endlessly is inflation. So when there's high inflation, then they raise taxes, they support the loss of employment, anything they can do to get people to stop spending as much, right? And if you think about it, and this is not what I'm about to say now, everything I just said is 100% fact. What I'm about to say now is 100% my opinion, is that if you look back at the presidents that we've had and match it up with inflation numbers and rates, you will see a disturbing trend of Democrats winning when we need to slow down inflation for the sake of taxation and things like that, and Republicans winning when it's time for tax cuts and to control inflation. We've been mind screwed on such a level that does not sound crazy to me. Like, when I see that correlation, it doesn't sound crazy to me. But my point in the beginning was just they don't care about your tax money. Like, this is something we all have to come to accept. They don't care. And it's an obvious question to ask when you learn modern monetary theory and realize they believe in it, because it's like, if you can just print whatever you want, why do you need my tax money? And what they need it for is behavior control. That's it. That's it. It's sick. It's twisted. Adds another wrinkle into the rabbit hole, but that part is 100% true. So it is what it is. Mike Arnold, how are you, sir? Just got home from men's Bible study. What did you miss? Well, you missed a lot, so I can't go over everything again. But I did go on a very serious rant about McCarthy, McCarthy, Jim Jordan, Trump. I threw Newt Gingrich, all the people who went on record bashing Gates for moving to vacate the chair. And I went on about how disappointed I am in these people who I otherwise, trust and enjoy. But, it just disgusted me. So that's pretty much it. And then I showed we talked a little bit more about Canada, and I showed the teacher who went coconuts on the state superintendent here in California, and just went off on him. It was phenomenal. So, all right. So it looks like I have made my way through the comments, and I have made my way through the topics. So what I have upcoming. So first of all, folks, I want to let you know, please make sure you comment, subscribe. If you subscribe, follow. I'm on multiple networks right now. So I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and even Twitch for the live broadcast. But Facebook is home base. So, and by the way, thank you, everyone. We're approaching 18,000 followers right now. We were at 16 to start the month when I announced that I think I'm out of shadow ban hell. And what did I do immediately after? Start playing some band footage of the Canadian protest. So we'll have fun. We'll see how long this lift of the ban lasts. But, we had some good turnout tonight across the platform. So, hopefully hopefully I stay out of jail for a little while, at least on the Facebook platform. But, hopefully everywhere else. Rumble never puts me in jail. So God bless them. If you enjoy the broadcast, though, what I would tell you is follow the Rumble channel, because especially if you're following on YouTube, because I disappear from YouTube out of nowhere. Like I disappear. I get suspended so often on YouTube, and I don't know why. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know how it's going to come. I don't even know how to prevent it from happening. So I've just accepted the fact that I will get suspended on YouTube at any moment's notice. And I mean, they came back one time. One of the suspensions was a video I did 17 weeks prior. Because I was crafty with the title and image, and their AI didn't pick it up right away on 2,000 Mules. So they finally caught up to it and then suspended me. So that kind of stuff happens on YouTube. So you'll notice the following doesn't grow there much. It doesn't get distributed there. It's just not I still do it because I still include YouTube, because I have some 1,400 followers, like back when we were trying to grow YouTube. But then I stopped at 1,400 and started focusing elsewhere. And really the focus at first was on Facebook, because that's where they were allowing me to grow. And we did grow until Facebook doesn't ban me, but they shadow ban me. So I still exist. I can still make my videos, but they don't show them to anyone. But you'll notice, like recently, I've been putting out more videos because I noticed that I'm out of jail. Like while they have me in that jail, it works because I tend to slow down my video output, because it's frustrating. You got to put all this work into putting a video together, and then nobody sees it. So it's, but now that I see that the videos were starting to get response again, I started putting out more. So Facebook or Rumble are the two best places to look. And I would say, let's see, we got Eric here saying thanks. Thank you, Eric. And thank all of you for the fact that you gave this love, and that a lone duck like myself was able to, with an Article 5 channel, like who does that? So I'm incredibly proud, to be, it may not be Dan Bongino numbers, but whatever. I'm not Dan Bongino, right? I'm a different animal on a very specific topic. So, for the fact that, we had that many people get on who share the passion, right, for the children's movement and for liberty, and of course for Article 5. So, I just want to say thank you to everybody for that. And again, don't forget to subscribe. I have the t-shirts that I wear on this broadcast. Like this one right here is an Article 5 one, but they're not all Article 5, but it's written in plain old English. Article 5 is written into the flag. But these types of shirts that I wear, if you see me wearing something with a message on it, just know those shirts are available for purchase. I have an Etsy store. The link to it is on the front page of there's a section of my website that will take you there. So definitely, you can help out by going ahead and purchasing one. I don't want to just ask for donations. I'm not a big fan of the stars. I feel like I need to give you something of value in return. And I thought that was a good way to do it. Some of them are kind of funny. So I would definitely take a moment to check it out. But let me just make sure we're done with the comments, right, folks? I think so. Eric left off. Yeah, folks. So I do have a video just to let you know what's coming. I have a video about Temecula's flag situation, with them essentially banning the LGBT flag. And I will be any other stories I get about schools and wins getting stacked by us, by parents, et cetera. But whether it's globally or in the United States, any win that gets stacked by parents is going to get put out there. So, let me know if you guys have it. The Canadian folks, keep feeding me, information out there about what some of the latest is with the protests. I got thick skin. I can let those people yell at me. I'll still put it out there. And then other than that, folks, I'm good. I'm out. Live free. I'll see you next weekend or next week.
And like that,